musicians, I'm a musician myself, a trumpet player, and all musicians do have wellness issues and injury issues and rehabilitation issues. And this afternoon we have 3 esteemed members of our local music community, all of whom are members of the Preservation Hall Band. And so I'd like to introduce from left to right, Mr. Ralph Johnson plays clarinet.
Okay.
Mr. Johnson has been playing with Preservation Hall for 20 years and playing clarinet for 52 years, which means he started when he was very young.
I've been playing reeds.
Oh,
I play reeds.
For this Ricky Monet plays piano, and Mr. Monet has been with the band for 26 years, been playing the instrument for 48 years.
Yeah.
And our last but not least, Joseph Lasky plays drums with the band. He's been playing with the band for 21 years and been playing the instrument for 35 years. So please welcome. So we only have one mic. Our lavaliers have died or something. So I'll be passing this mic around. But we thought we might start with each musician, each player telling you about what they do, how they do it, and injuries that they have they've had during their career. So I'll start with Mr. Johnson. Mr. Johnson, could I give you this?
Okay. My name is Ralph Johnson. I'm a reed player. I've been playing. I played reed. I played with many different bands, and I love to do this. I really love to play the horn. I'm thankful that I can play it still. I like playing at the Preservation Hall too. I like that type of music. I like to create. So this is why I love playing.
You're going to play for us, Mr. Johnson?
If you want me to.
Well, tell me about the problems that you experience. Obviously, by playing the instrument, you play using your embouchure. You want to talk about maybe the problems of playing with? I mean, what do you experience?
In my embouchure?
Well, say embouchure. It could be your fingering.
Yeah. Well, my embouchure it varies if I'm playing for a long time. I have to switch. I can switch embouchure to rest the other one. I switch to rest. My hands, sometimes I have to drop them and shake them because they get tired. This right hand, and I hold it back up. Sometimes this horn get heavy.
So that hand supports the instrument.
Right, it holds it. And it gets heavy. I drop it a while, shake it, and can play some more.
Do you have issues with after you stop playing? Does your arm ache, or does it cause you problems when you're not playing?
I have a pain in my shoulder. You know, I have to exercise. When I exercise, I feel comfortable, but I can feel the pain in my shoulder from holding this horn, you know.
Are there certain exercises that you do to strengthen your arm or to rest your arm, or how do you deal with the tiredness of your arm after a night's work?
Well, I ride bike. I have stationary bike. I ride that, and I do different exercises like lifting my shoulders up high, you know, and I use 3-pound weights, and I work with the weights every morning.
Have you ever seen a physical therapist or a physician about your injuries or the problems of playing the instrument?
Oh, no, I haven't, but when I had a pain in my left side, I saw my sore and he helped me out a whole lot. We worked with that, and it went away. I don't have no pain now.
Do you have any dental problems playing instruments?
I have dentures. I don't have it. I have dentures.
So this is not a problem for you to play the instrument for a long period of time?
Well, as the time passed, the bottom dentures, they feel as though they could be raised so I can keep a decent armature. In other words, I have to do it without the help of the teeth.
I said, do you have any wrist problems that irritate you after playing the instrument for a long period of time?
No, not really.
Can you play for us for a second?
Certainly.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
You're welcome.
Now, the breathing that it takes, the breath control, do you exercise I mean, you've been playing this for so long, you must have a great lung capacity. Do you do anything to enhance that?
Well, I used to, a long time ago, put books on my diaphragm to straighten it, breathe in and out, to build my diaphragm up. I tried to play from the diaphragm. And when I fill up from the diaphragm, I can always have strength over, breath over. But if I don't fill up from the diaphragm, I can't finish a phrase. But I can always finish a phrase if I fill up that diaphragm. So this is what one must do. Fill it up.
What about, do you smoke, if I may ask?
Oh, no smoke, no.
Do you think of yourself as having a diet that helps you be a performer, be a more efficient musician?
Oh, yes. A diet of plenty rest, plenty good water, good food. Plenty rest, water, and food, and exercise.
Your exercise routine is what? Stationary bike and weights?
Bike and treadmill. Sometimes treadmill if I feel like it, but I like bike, so that's the one I like to do. And my 5-pound weight, sometimes 3 pounds.
How do you deal with those routines when you're on the road 200 nights a year?
Well, it's kind of rough, but you do the best you can. Keep going, whatever. Just like you do, the best you can.
Well, would anybody have any questions of Mr. Johnson before we move on? And we can come back to Mr. Johnson anytime, but just in case you do.
Well, I have a question actually for any of the three of you. It's just a general question that do you think because you have relatively good health as you get older, it enables you to continue playing? Or do you feel that continuing to play keeps you in relatively good health as you get older?
Well, I love to play. And when I play, I forget about the things that's wrong. Sometimes my arm hurt. I have diabetes, but I control diabetes. Diabetes don't control me. I keep my diet, stay with that. Hey, when I play, I just feel good.
So playing keeps you healthy.
Yes, I love it.
Anybody else want to direct their attention to that question?
I think playing keeps me healthy also. Musicians get immediate gratification. I mean, you get that feedback from the audience. You get a certain groove from the band. It all makes you feel real good. Forget about the headache that you had. You forget about the pain in your back. You just want to play. Keep the thing going.
I would like to say, as time goes by, I get better. The older I get, the better I get. I have more energy now than when I was playing when I was much younger. Yeah, if that answers your question.
Anybody else?
I have a question for Mr. Johnson. When you play in smoke-filled rooms, which many of the clubs are, do you find that it's more difficult to get your breath and to play as forcefully as you would like to? In other words, does the smoke in the atmosphere bother you?
Yes, I don't like it. I don't like the smoke. I don't like the smoke around me. If I have to play, I play. And well, yes, the smoke bothers me.
I think that would be true for any wind player, that's for sure. Well, let's talk to Mr. Monet. Mr. Monet, could you tell us about maybe some of the physical issues that you have playing your instrument, how you deal with it?
But before I get into that, I'd like to piggyback on what Mr. Johnson was talking about. This is one of the things that, one of the key things that drew me to Preservation Hall is that it's one of the only family-oriented establishments in the French Quarter where people come in to listen to the music. We don't serve alcohol, and you cannot smoke in there. The band, 99% of our concerts are in major theaters or universities where we have a listening audience. There's no smoking and drinking. I don't like it. I don't smoke, I don't drug, I don't drink. I'm like Mr. Johnson, I drink lots of water. We have a very rigid schedule. We do just about 200 concerts a year, so we have to stay healthy. Just this year, my wife and I, we become vegetarians. And I'm getting old, I'm 56 years old, and it's time for me to take even better care of myself. So if that answers your question. Now, let's get into my physical problems. Usually, piano players, when you sit at a piano, you have no back support. When we play our concerts in the major theaters, they will usually provide a padded piano concert bench. The bottom feels good, the back doesn't. You're doing this, you're doing that, you're bending all kind of ways, and it hurts after a while. You get tired. Piano's a percussion instrument, so I'm beating. And Preservation Hall Band is not an electronic band. It's all acoustic. Except for when we play very large venues, then we have to use some amplification. When we play at Preservation Hall, there are no microphones. So the piano, as soft as it is, has to compete with the drummer, the bass player, the trumpet player, the banjo player, and it is pretty hard sometimes. So yeah. If I'm doing this all night, I'm beating my fingers to death. And I have to play at such a volume so that I can hear myself. And when it's time for me to improvise, because I've set that foundation for the rest of the band, then I have to not only do with this hand, but then I have to do other things. My fingers are twisting, my elbow, my wrist. Sometimes what happens to my left hand is that my thumb automatically does that. I have to physically take my right hand and pull my thumb back out. It's very, very frightening. It's happened to me maybe 5 or 6 times in my whole career, but when it happens, it's very frightening. It happened to the drummer one night. He said twice. And I looked around at him. I said, I know what you're going through. Just take your other hand and pull it back out. You'll be okay. Go ahead.
I was playing like this, and this finger here locked. This finger here locked on me. It scared the life out of me, just like Ricky said. And I had to get the bass player to pull it out for me. Then I was all right. Then I still felt that looked like it wanted. The more I played, the more it felt like it wanted to go back in there, just like that. And I experienced that
about twice. Okay. Another thing is that when we were on bus tour, you drive 300, 400, 500 miles sometimes. Sometimes we will play a concert and leave immediately after the concert, drive all night. The coaches are very comfortable. Everybody has a bunk. They all have televisions, satellite, full kitchen, shower, everything you could ever want in a luxury coach. But sitting and not getting any exercise for so long. Then when you reach your destination, you have to get your luggage off and pull that heavy luggage up to the room. Some hotels, we don't stay in Hilton's every night. We don't stay in Windsor Courts every night. Sometimes we have to hit the Hampton Bays and I don't think, maybe the Motel 8s. And sometimes you don't have an elevator. You have to carry that stuff upstairs. That's very taxing on the body after sitting so long. And then when you stop to eat, you get back on the bus, you get gas pains, and you get all kind of discomfort. And sometimes you wake up in the morning, you just can't use the bathroom for a day. And you have to go to find a Walgreens, get a little alley, get something to move you. So this is just some of the things that we go through. I don't want to be gross or anything, but but this is the life of a musician on the road.
I have a question. So you also have to probably pack up, unpack, and carry your equipment. That must have its own stress and its own potential for injury.
Those days are gone. When I was younger, I used to play B3, Hammond B3 organ, and that thing is heavy. I mean, it would take 2 people, and sometimes we'd have to go upstairs with it. I had lower back pains from transporting that organ. But thank God now, everywhere we go, they order a piano for me, and I don't have to worry about anything heavy to carry.
Why don't you tell us about what your same experiences, and you have your own issues, you have drums to carry and stuff, and all the rest.
Yes, when I was coming up, I had to carry those drums up the steps. I had to walk with them down the street. I had I'm having my problem with the trap case. The trap case would be all the hardware, all the heavy stuff. And I had to pick up that trap case. And if I pick up that trap case the wrong way, it just does something to my back. And I'll be through for about at least 2 weeks before I can get it back straight. And that's one of my main problems. And one of my other problems I had, when I would play, I would play like this, and I would play like this here. And I had a problem with this part. I don't know if you're familiar with this little part here. And it used to be a lump. It used to get about that high. And it used to hurt. It used to hurt me to play sometimes. Now, how I correct that? I bought this little athletic thing that you do like that. And so I was working out with that. And I said, whoa. So I'm not talking about this. It doesn't happen overnight or in a week's time. It takes time for you to constantly work with this thing. So I did that, say maybe 3 months. And I noticed, whoa, I've been handling it. So from now on, that's what I've been working out with this just a squeezing thing. I've been doing that for the last, I'll say about 4 years now. And this thing is gone. It's gone. I don't have no problem with this no more. And another problem, I'm a drummer. I have a problem with my shoulder. You know, I'm beating clapping. My hand is constantly doing this. Some will be right there, the other some will be there, and I'm constantly doing that. And it messed up my shoulder one time. One time I literally was about to get surgery on my shoulder because, you know, it just, I couldn't hardly lift my hand. Ricky was with me when I was suffering. Yeah. I couldn't lift my hand like this. I could only go this high, and that was it. And that was one of the main injuries I sustained. And another thing with a drummer, you're talking about an athlete. Whoa, the drummer got to not just pain. So,
feet.
Yeah, both feet. Your ankles, your knees, and you know, all of that's gone. And but you know, when I was little, coming up playing drums, I had to develop on how to stop that from hurting. I'm gonna tell you what I do with that. Walk.
Yeah.
Walk. When I feel that, you know, even my calf, especially with this knee with the hi-hat, I have to constantly keep doing that and put pressure on my calf back here. And that used to hurt me sometimes. But through walking, it knocked that pain out. And walking does help me. As for rehabilitation and I say getting myself together to play. Because Rick can tell you, we go walking in the mall on the road, and then once we get to the concert, we energetic, we ready to go.
That's right.
Ready to go. And, that's one of the main problems that I have playing drums.
Well, thank you very much. Any questions for these gentlemen? Yes, sir.
Say, I know, in sports medicine, there's probably a lot of athletes that won't seek medical care because they're probably on some level afraid that they're going to be told, well, you can't play. So has that happened to any of you, that you don't really seek out medical care or attention because you're afraid they're going to tell you to stop, or that they're just not going to be able to help you because they don't understand what it is you have to do?
I went to Dr. Moss here in New Orleans for the problem I was having with my thumb, and no, I wasn't afraid to go. I wanted to check it out because it just happened at any time, just right in the middle of me playing, and I mean, just the thumb just goes in by itself, and you know, it's kind of scary. So I did have it checked out. He told me it was from overexertion. So it's no way for me to not overexert when I play. So I guess I'm just lucky when it doesn't happen. It hasn't happened in the past couple of years. But no, I wasn't afraid to go and get it checked out.
On the other hand, I was afraid because I'm just be honest. I thought I was having a stroke. I really did. And I was scared to go to the doctor to get it checked out. I really was. And I thought that was going to be the end. With my shoulder too, because, you know, they was going to operate on my shoulder, and I thought that was going to be a career-ending thing too. And I'd like to say something about that. Somebody come up to me and told me, you know, you musicians are lucky. Because an athlete, their career ends in their 20s. But y'all get to play for the rest of y'all life.
I didn't get the name of the drummer.
Joe
Laston. Last Chief.
Joe Laston.
A lot of musicians that I work with are apprehensive about going in for care because of lack of health insurance. Do you find that in the New Orleans area that's a prominent concern as well?
No, because the musician, I guess before pre-Katrina, the musicians had a clinic that we can go to. And right after Katrina, you know, people donated money to the musicians clinic. And right now, I am, you know, I do go to the musician clinic for my eyes, my teeth, and my health. So there is some medical attention that, you know, for the musicians.
So do you have health insurance, or you just depend on the clinic?
I just depend on the clinic.
You didn't say Venus?
No, I have health insurance. I do have health insurance. I worked for the city for 31. I'm actually retired from the city 31 years, and I always did do the weekend gigs and whatever I could with Preservation Hall for the amount of time that I said that I work with Preservation Hall. So I do have health insurance, and I also am being treated at the Musicians Clinic here in New Orleans.
Oh yes, I have health insurance. I have red, white, and blue. I've been having it for about 5 years.
Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
You mentioned how important your hearing is to your profession and your success. Yet at the same time, you're exposed to repetitive, loud, sometimes very loud music on a daily basis. Is that something you worry about, monitor? You know, you mentioned you get your eyes checked and your teeth. Do you have your hearing monitored as well, and are you paying attention to or keep track of exposure to loud music, even when you're not working, for instance, to try to minimize any hearing loss that might result?
Yeah, that looked good, but what did you say? Okay. Actually, the whole band was examined by an audiologist, Dr. Chuck Berlin, and we had some earplugs made for each of our ears. Sometimes we use them, sometimes we don't. It can be very taxing on your hearing, your ears, to be sitting next to a drummer or a banjo player. Banjos really, they get kind of loud when you sit right next to them. And I sit right next to the banjo player is to my right, and the drummer is behind me, so I get it from both ears. It gets to be pretty rough. But I use my my hearing, my earplugs.
You're right. The problem that I experience, I don't know, you know, everybody flies. And you got to get the pressure off your ear. Do you know, each night I play, I have to take the pressure out of my ear so I can hear a little clearly. And I do that every night I play music.
Oh yeah, well.
Mr. Johnson, do you have any words of wisdom about that?
Oh no, whenever anything is too loud, because I love to listen at music when it's played soft. I love to play this horn soft and loud. So when I hear something too loud, if I'm traveling or playing music, I put the plugs in. I keep them in my pocket.
You know, it's interesting to me that these gentlemen play 200 nights a year, but that means they're also on the road 200 nights a year. So the toll of the travel alone would be hard, much less the physical exertion of it. And we all, I guess you do with athletes who have the same issue, that they do 200 nights a year. So I'm sure that's very stressful. You want to talk about the stress of travel? You've talked about the bus and the plane, and you've had these dietary issues and hard to maintain your routines. Anything else you want to say about that?
Well,
Mr. Johnson?
Well, traveling, I caught pneumonia, traveling with the air, whatever, but I know it had to be something from the bus, hot and cold, different places, be colder. When I got in the hotel, the least sign I feel that something is wrong, I holler. Hey, something wrong. You know, I want me to be right. So I holler and I just called got in the hotel 911 because I didn't feel good. The minute I don't feel good, here I am, somebody help me.
Does this happen to you more than once, Mr. Johnson?
Well, one time I had, 10 years ago, I had bypass. And when one had bypass, one must do what's right, or else you won't be here. So do what's right. I try to do what's right. I practice doing what's right, and that's eating right, resting right, drinking the right kind of water, and taking care of myself. It's my job to take care of me. It's the doctor's job to direct me. But if I don't do the way he direct me, I did nothing.
In the musician's clinic, do they offer you any physical therapy or?
Yes.
Can you talk about that for a second? What other kind of options do they offer you?
You know, remember I told you all about my shoulder, and they do offer the physical therapy. It was in the two-lane medical building that I was able to go to physical therapy twice a week. So they do provide full health care for the musicians. They really do. And I'm really grateful and thankful for that. But they do.
Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Yeah. Good job. Thanks, guys. Two questions if I can. First of all, I'm getting back to the piano bench. I'm fascinated by that. If you put a pad on it, I assume you don't have a back on it because you need to slide back and forth up the keyboard. But if you put a pad on it, you can't slide up and down back on the keyboard. So why would you not want to have a back on the piano bench? That's number one. Number two, every piano bench I've seen is about the same size. So is there any kind of discussion about designing the height of the piano bench to the height of the player? And I guess that same question goes to the drummer as well. Your drum, as I look at it, seems to be a little short. Now, relatively speaking to all the other things you have to play. But has anybody ever done any ergonomic designs as the right way to put a piano bench or have your drum that might alleviate the stress on you?
The concert piano benches are the ones that come padded. You see the big knobs on each side of them. Next time you go to a concert, you'll notice that. Those knobs screw, and as you screw them to the counterclockwise, they will go down. Clockwise, the seats will rise. Of course, if you're stuck with a wooden bench, which is the most common bench, it's a no adjustment. It's just supposed to be fit to the height of the keyboard. I don't think
that could be something that needs to be addressed. Because I assume that there are times when you're on a piano bench that you feel is too short for you.
Yes. As far as a back, I have played some pianos, and the bench did have a back, but I think it was a drum throne. They're making the drum stools are called drum thrones. They make them now with backs, so that helps the drummers out. But I have never seen a piano bench with a back. No.
What he said about the back for the drum throne, I'm sorry to say, but it just makes me lay back even more.
You're comfortable, huh?
It's comfortable. I'm serious, y'all. I just lay back and play. But when I don't have it, they have adjustment. Every stool, every drum throne have adjustment to go
up and down.
Mm-hmm. Now, how I adjust mine, I try to, because, we do a lot of traveling, we sit on different thrones, so I try to adjust it to about, where I know where I would like it at. And that's my key that I try to
Comfortable, right? Yeah.
be comfortable with it, and plus do it every concert or every place I go to have it at the same level. So I won't be down sometimes, and I won't be up sometimes, but I can't put a strain on my back too.
Yeah.
You know, one of the musicians that I've worked with, Randy, was Dave Brubeck, and he had a chair that was made for him and had a back to it, and that chair was, somebody carried that chair to every gig. It requires an extra helping hand there, but some people do make sure they have what they need. When you're on the road, with DJ, probably have the limited equipment they have, and they're stuck with the piano bench that's good. Pretty typical is the piano bench is not adjustable, unfortunately, and much less having a back to it. And a typical chair is too low, right? You use a chair.
Oh, yeah.
Piano, you're too far down.
Right.
So it is a problem.
But I must say now, when I was coming up playing drums in church, we didn't have all of that now. So when I was coming up playing drums in church, we had a chair similar to this, a bass drum and a cymbal and this snare drum. That's it. So it's something that I had to develop. And, you know, trying to find my right height and stuff. But back, just to say this, back in the day, we didn't have all of that. When I was coming up playing in church and stuff. It was just a regular stool or chair, that's it.
Can I ask a question on your physical therapy piece? Mr. Johnson talked about regular walking. Okay. Would it make sense for you guys to do regular training specific to your music instrument, in your case, shoulder strengthening, before you got hurt? Could you get on a routine where on a regular basis, even though you're healthy now, then it would benefit you to do that as a preventative measure and not as a reactive measure to something that's already hurt? Is that, I mean, that's the message we're trying to preach to the athletes. And I'm not envisioning that that's a regular routine in the musical society, that people are just, they're not investing in their body before they get hurt by helping to strengthen it so they can last longer. Just like you said, the athlete's done in 10 years, you guys are there for 40 years.
Exactly, about this hand here. I knew I had to start working out with that. And as far as for my foot, I knew I had to, you know, therapy is walking. I think, you know, walking is the best therapy there is.
Oh,
and you're right, you know, we should go through a therapy before the injury occurs. Now, as far as with my finger locking up, I explained to you again, I do this here, but my finger's still around. So I don't know what therapy I could use to, oh, hello world.
I know what's wrong with your finger, I think.
Oh, tell me, please.
tell us. Yeah, tell us.
Well, it's interesting because I'm a physiatrist, a specialist in physical medicine and rehabilitation. And so we often
Shut up. Excuse me.
musicians and athletic performers as well. But a lot of the things that you guys are talking about that ail you are very common muscle and bone and tendon issues that affect everybody. And so it sounds to me like you have a trigger finger getting stuck, and if you had an injection of cortisone into that tendon, that would go away.
Oh.
And you also sound like you may have what's called a muscle dystonia, which is it does have to do with a relative overuse of the muscle where it starts to cramp.
Yes.
And so that sometimes you can use Botox, or I know nobody wants to hear about an injection. I understand that. But if it gets problematic, you can do an injection that basically relaxes the muscle, and then you train around it to get it. So there's a balance, and you have to find somebody who's, you know, good at that and who works with musicians. So I'd suggest you find somebody in town, because these things can be helped, especially if they're scary to you, in terms of your ability to function at the level you need to. Another thing for Mr. Johnson that I really think is important is the whole concept of what we call scapular stabilizer strengthening, which means all the muscles you cannot see that are in your back. So your lower trap, middle trap, and upper trap, these muscles in the back, are the most important for creating a stable platform upon which you work your reed instrument. And it's real easy to get some TheraBand or using your light weights, but using them in this plane. And those are, again, very basic things that most physical therapists are in the habit of prescribing to people routinely, but if you applied it to your work, it would help you tremendously.
Yes.
That's great. We should do a seminar for musicians on this, because I can tell you, working in music schools, that there is no real attention paid to the physicality of playing an instrument. Now, singers are they have this problem constantly, and so if you don't train yourself to sing properly, you will get tired and you can damage your vocal cords. This is an issue for them, but you don't hear violinists or in music schools talking about the carpal tunnel issues or the issues of playing an instrument like this, very unnatural positions, almost worse than golf, which is nothing worse than that. Right? But musicians don't really get that kind of wellness class or course in music school. And professional musicians, even more to the point, there's not a lot of music therapy for this situation. And you can see these gentlemen have kind of self-healed themselves. They've self-treated themselves. They identified the problem, and as he gets his hand exerciser, his problem goes away. So it's all very intuitive in a sense. So it would be great to have some video that talks to musicians about how they can help themselves. If they do that.
I would suggest that my field of medical specialty is not very well known. It's called physical medicine and rehabilitation, but that's what we do. And we work with musicians on these very specific issues that have to do with the ability to perform and function, whether you're a spinal cord injured person, whether you've had major burn trauma and injury, or whether you're a high-level athlete who's having knee pain. So I think getting the musicians matched with and educated about our specialty is one, and everybody in the room has their specialty, which probably would offer the same. But certainly we work with music performers all the time. Usually I see the young folks coming in, the cellists, the harpists, the violinists, who are having neck pain or shoulder pain or some problem. And then in evaluating their movements and the kinesiology, so how your neck, your shoulder, and your fingers sort of function together, supported on your back and your hip, or a golfer or a tennis player, the principles are the same. But once we identify the movement irregularity or what's not being supported, oftentimes it's coming from someplace other than where it hurts. That's really the concept of looking there. So but my young people who come in, oftentimes the thing that's holding up their performance, so the thing that they're being told by their instructor, I'll look at them, they bring in their instrument, they play it for me, and biomechanically you can identify very easily what the problem is. And they say, oh, well, that's what my teacher keeps telling me. But so then they're getting it from two places, the biomechanics of playing and then the technique of playing to resolve whatever the issue is.
It's fascinating.
The problem that I've been having, you started it.
Don't tell you.
As I speak again about the numbers. Again, I don't know if it's a heart attack or stroke, but I get like you're going to sleep. That happens. It's been happening quite often.
Which fingers?
Both.
Both your hands?
Yes.
The most common thing would be carpal tunnel syndrome for someone who's using and gripping and repetitively for many years.
So that is from my playing.
That's the most common reason, that you're getting inflammation around the median nerve, which is one of the main median suppliers of hands. Of the hands, people get numbness, tingling, weakness, and if you wakes you up at night, you're shaking your hands out at night.
You know.
So we usually start with a cock-up splint. So you get those little splints at Walgreens and you wear them at night to help rest and relieve the nerve. But the other thing but here's the thing. If anytime you're getting numbness and tingling, that's a real concern. And what's ending up happening is it means the nerve is getting pressure. So if the nerve is getting pressure, nerves aren't like bones. If you pressure a bone, to a certain extent, it makes more bone and it gets stronger. If you pressure a nerve, it can get weaker, and then you lose function of your hand. So it's very important to get that checked out. The way you get it checked out is you can go to a physiatrist, physical medicine and rehab. They'll do a nerve test. They'll test the nerve, and by stimulating it, measuring how fast your nerve conducts an impulse, and then they'll put a small needle, don't be afraid, they'll put a small needle into the muscle to see if the nerve has been damaged severely enough. If it has, then you need to have go to a special hand surgeon, somebody who's fellowship trained in hands, and they'll do a small cut of the ligament overlying that, and then it will free your nerve up so that your nerve doesn't keep getting damaged if that's what's happening, so that you can preserve your hand function. If you don't, your hand will just waste away over time.
How much does age have to do with that?
Good question. I think nerves do lose their function over age. Usually after age 60, there's some amount of normal age-related nerve dysfunction, but I think it more has to do with use, volume. So, for instance, pregnant women who carry a lot of excessive fluid oftentimes get carpal tunnel syndrome during their pregnancy. That oftentimes goes away afterwards. So it's just important to know about it and to go treat it.
That's it. Well, anybody else want medical attention? Yes, ma'am.
Mine's just a very simple question. In athletics, we have concern about our athletes playing through the pain and bringing in the second string and giving that injury some rest or whatever. What about you as musicians? And you're with a pretty famous group. If something does happen to you, sir, when you're drumming, do you have somebody who backs you up on the road, or what do y'all do about that?
No.
Fly somebody in.
We'd be in Switzerland, Germany, somewhere. No, we can't fly nobody. For instance, my back, I told you, if I pick up the trap case the wrong way, I'm out for 2 weeks. In pain, but I'm still able to perform each flight through the pain.
So you're going to play right through it and keep playing?
Yes.
Well, I suggest the Chuck Berry method of band replacement. You all know what that is, right? Chuck Berry, when he plays someplace, he calls ahead. He says, "I need a drummer, I need a bass player, I need a guitar player." If they don't know my music, then you don't need me at the concert.
That's right. Well, that's fair.
We can also provide free psychological assistance.
That's so nice of you.
I wanted to make an anecdotal observation. I had a brother-in-law who was a piano player up into his 80s, and he told me, and I didn't know, maybe Mr. Minot can tell me, piano players never get arthritis in the fingers or hands. And he never did. And yet, I just wondered if you're aware of any piano players that ever got arthritis in the hand.
I've never heard of a piano player. In fact, a friend of mine, we were talking about U.B. Blake. He played until he was 100 years old. He never complained about any arthritis or anything like that.
Well, Irving Berlin lived to be 101, and he never got any arthritis in his fingers. And at least, I guess, because they get all that exercise, they get good blood supply. Yes. I don't know.
I just wanted to mention, to answer your question, what do we do when you get the injury? The only thing that I can do, I have to, first of all, pull my thumb out again. Then I just rest it on my leg and continue to play with one hand, my right hand, and until I get a little relief. And it usually goes away after I just kind of hold on.
Are you saying you're a one-armed piano player?
Can do it.
Well, sometimes you have to do what you have to do. Yeah. We have a question over here.
Yeah.
We've worked with a variety of musicianal groups that travel around the world, and some of them use resources, a network of healthcare providers, massage therapists, physical therapists, and chiropractors at different locations. Do you guys use any of those resources on the road?
No, we sure don't.
No.
Mr. Johnson, do you have anything to say about that?
No.
No, we don't. But every now and then we'll run into a chiropractor or somebody that that wants to give us massages. Or if you have any problems while you're out here on the road, Yes, we do, and they sort of address it for us. So we're very fortunate. Every now and then we'll run into somebody that's willing to just come in and ask and give us some assistance. And sometimes some of the guys are having problems.
Anybody else?
Well, I did miss a concert one night. Ricky remember I stepped off the bus and sprained my ankle the wrong way.
I remember
Toronto,
that.
Canada.
I remember that.
You remember that, Ralph?
Yeah.
And to answer that question, I had to go to the emergency room to get that addressed. Because then they want to say that maybe it was the poor circulation from sitting on the plane. I don't know if y'all ever heard of that. You see him sitting on the plane. So they was afraid of me having that problem. And my ankle went out on me. But to answer that question, no, they didn't refer me to no other kind of, what was that program you mentioned?
There are a variety of groups that will establish health care for traveling groups, whether it's a professional athlete, musicians, and performance groups that offer a variety of services.
I think we would love something like that, especially during the travel we go. We do a lot of traveling and going to different cities and stuff. As soon as we get there, we can go work out and
have our problems.
Ralph can get on his bike.
Yeah, I love the ride.
You're going to get everybody's hometown and your cell phone number.
Yeah, that'd be a great
You may
idea.
get a call. Might be late.
Thank you.
A couple other questions. A question from the back from the guy that requested Sweet Georgia Brown last night, but he's afraid to ask the question himself. Can you give us a little history on how many members of the Preservation Hall band there are and what it takes to belong to that? And then the second question was, and I'd love to have Ralph answer this because he answered it to me personally and I loved it, is do you have a favorite song? Or do you get tired of playing the Saints Go Marching In 1,000 times a day? And so, just curious about that.
Well, if I play When the Saints Go Marching In 1,000 times, I would still look for one more time to play it just a little better, a little bit more. I believe it is possible to imagine. I would imagine it is.
That's amazing. So you can play it as many times as you want, never quite get as good as you want it to be. Right? Can you play something? Would you mind playing a song?
Let's see. All right. What you got?
Sweet Georgia Brown.
Okay. It's in.
Something simple.
Yeah, you want to do something like baby? Oh, I tell you what. Da da do 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 do. Okay. Petite Flora.
Thank you.
You were talking about the difference between playing an acoustic piano and this electric instrument. You want to talk about that for a second?
Yeah, acoustic piano has weighted keys, which means that you have greater resistance. Keyboards are like, they have a mushy organ type touch, very light. And it's very hard sometimes to play certain types of music, particularly this number, because I should have been a sustain pedal, one that's holds the notes, and I didn't have it. So everything has to be sort of like choppy, you know. This is easier, I would imagine, on, you can get the tones easy because it's electronic. You don't have to bang as hard to get the volume that you need because it's all controlled from a switch. You know? On an acoustic piano, you have to actually create your volume. So it's the difference. Touch and the volume control. Oh, excuse me. Would also like to invite everybody to the Preservation Hall tonight. We will be playing with the band tonight. It's going to be a good show. Beginning at 8:15, doors open at 8 o'clock.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
You've spoken several times about performing 200 nights a year. However, you're also gracious enough to come here today and play for us, and there must be a lot of that goes on, and practice time, and at times when you're maybe playing for church or recreation or weddings or all sorts of other things. Could you estimate the number of hours per week that you actually commune with your instrument?
Well, before I got here at 1 o'clock, I'd already played a church service this morning at a Seventh-day Adventist church in Slidell, Louisiana. It's about 60 miles from here. I drove here to be with you, and I'm playing at the instrument now. And then at 8 o'clock, from 8 till 11 tonight, I'll be at Preservation Hall. At 9:45, I'll be on the organ at a Baptist church here in New Orleans. I live in Mississippi now. Katrina washed me out of New Orleans, so I had to relocate. And then at Tuesday, I do have a rehearsal at Preservation Hall. Tuesday night, I have a church rehearsal, choir rehearsal. So I'm on the piano just at least 2-3 times a day. If not out in the public, at home. I have a piano and organ at home. So I commune with my instrument on a daily basis.
Well, I always try to spend some quality time on my instrument with the foundation, some of the foundation skills. I'm trying to do that all the time.
Well, I'm one of the busiest drummers in the city. I work like 7 nights a week. And I play at church on Sunday. So Monday, and Tuesdays, and Wednesday, I work 5 hours a night. And then when I get to Preservation Hall, I work like 3 hours. And then I go back at the Mason on Bourbon, on Bourbon Street, and I play another 5 hours. But to mention that on Fridays and Sundays I was doing doubles. I couldn't do it. That was like 10 hours that I was doing, and I had to give that up. Because I'm not rehearsing nothing. I practice because I don't have no drum set up at home. So I get my practice on the job.
Anybody else?
How do you become a member?
There's several members of the Preservation Hall touring bands. Piano, bass, drums, banjo, trombone, trumpet, and clarinet or saxophone. How do you become a member of that band? We're called the Dream Team sometimes. This is the band that travels all over the world.
somebody has to die, actually. Once you get in this position, the only way you can get, to get in the band is if somebody gets real sick, if somebody passes away and the position is passed on to you. That's the way it's been. I mean, I've been affiliated with this company since 1982. And there's no application that you fill out. You just observe if this guy can really play. He's interested in the music. He's interested in the preservation of this music. And I think he'd be a good guy to fill the position. We just lost a trumpet player. Buried him 2 weeks ago. So, but Preservation Hall, I'm sorry, that's one thing I didn't mention. This band is out on the road. Of course, there's still music at Preservation Hall. So I think at one time, Preservation Hall did have a list of about 30 musicians that would continue the music 7 nights a week out on the road.
I think this battery's going bad. Is that true? So we're almost finished. I think maybe we could ask the gentleman to play one more song for us before we say goodbye.
That's your clue. What your clue is? What you want? What you want here? Can you play the Saints?
tonight, in addition to Preservation Hall, and Adam will talk to you about this, see what Randy's got here.
Gentlemen, on behalf of the entire Joint Commission, we've been doing this a long time, and we've had some very unique talks. We actually had a meeting in Las Vegas where the doctor sold on Evander Holyfield's ear after he got bitten out by Mike Tyson's contest. But I think this brings home the cake. This was fantastic. Let's have one more round. A little bit of something for everyone here, but Jim also asked me if you have a little bit of time, once we're done here, we're done. If people want to come up and talk, and maybe we'll do just a little bit with you if you have some time. We'd like to offer that opportunity.
Take photographs.
Take photographs, okay. Starting off here, I've got a little plaque for John, and again, I mentioned that it's been a great, hopefully a starting run. I just sat back there and was fascinated with the fact of all that we do and all that you do, and the fact that, except for a few cases here, we're not connecting as much as we could. And so hopefully, if nothing else comes out of this group and your group begin an interaction that will benefit everybody. But just a little plaque for John for helping set that up. I didn't put this together, Jim Reinhardt did, but this is very appropriate. It says, thank you very much for the wonderful session from the Joint Commission on Sports Medicine, March 8th, 2008. So to help with your, and we have one for you. And there's historical significance to this, isn't it? Jim, tell them what this drum is, this stick here.
These are all from 1800s Indian clubs and early ways. And we hope you continue to use the card.
Thank you very much for this.